Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is 4 p.m. ET, and you have found us here at Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. I am your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the author of 13 novels of suspense. The most recent one, Her Perfect Life, was just nominated for the Agatha for Best Novel of the Year. So thank you, thank you. I am very happy about that, and welcome to all of you here today on Twitter and here today on Facebook. We are so thrilled to be bringing you the fantastic The Lion Club by Annie Ward. And it is a book about bad choices. It is twisty and turny and suspenseful and surprising and all of those words like that. I absolutely love it. Let me tell you, we love Heather Gudenkauf around here. She's fantastic. And Heather says about The Lion Club, I'm going to read it to you so I get it right. It is an edgy, addictive read about the lengths people go to in the name of love, no matter what the consequences. And then she says, fans of Big Little Lies will revel in this dark, pacey page turner, The Lion Club. Annie Ward, welcome.
Hi. I'm so glad to be here.
What did you think when you saw that from Heather?
Oh my gosh, I was absolutely blown away. Heather is just a wonderful person, a wonderful writer, and she's always so supportive of other writers, and I was absolutely thrilled.
You see what Stephanie Cooper says? I loved this book so much.
Really? Oh, thank you.
It's all, and Janine is saying, love the title. Yeah, The Lion Club. Janine, we will have to talk about that. When I look over here, you all, as you know, I always tell you, I am looking at the comments because you are commenting on Facebook like crazy. Here's Pamela Fry Priest is here, Nancy Reed Legowski is here, Stephanie Cooper and Janine and Sherry. Oh my golly. We were talking about this, Annie, about how you have this marvelous fan base of people who absolutely love you and your books. What do you think about that?
It honestly blows my mind. It makes me so happy. I can't thank my readers enough. It's just, it's not anything that you can prepare for. When you find out that someone absolutely loves your book, it's the best feeling in the world. And I think that's the high that we're chasing as writers, is to hopefully connect and make somebody have fun.
And here's, oh my golly, I can't even read the comments fast enough. Sherry loved it. Leisha loved it. Gail loved it. Hi, Hank. Hi, Gail. The Lion Club. And this just is out. Do you have any big events planned?
We do. I'm excited to say we're having a launch party tonight locally at the Indie Bookstore where I live, which is in a suburb of Kansas City. It's the Green Door Bookstore, and the owner is a friend of mine, and we're doing something kind of fun. We're kind of combining a little bit of a party, a little bit of a Q&A. We're going to do some bubbles. We're going to have some like small bites, and just kind of try and make it like a little bit glamorous, like the ladies of the Lion Club.
They are glamorous indeed, the ladies of the Lion Club, and we'll talk about that in 2 seconds. Is this one of your first in-person events?
This is my first in-person event in 2 years, but I did quite a few in-person events for Beautiful Bad, which was my previous book.
Sure. But I mean, now in the time of COVID,
yes,
are you going back out into the world for your launch? That's good timing.
In all honesty, it's a little nerve-wracking, but we did advanced ticketing, and it's going to be like pretty spread out, and people are going to be careful. And we, decided that we were going to do individual little cheese trays that everyone takes, so there's no sharing of the charcuterie kind of stuff. We're trying to be careful, but it does feel weird after 2 years to do a party.
Well, it sounds like you've handled it beautifully. In the name of the bookstore in Overland, Kansas.
Overland Park, yeah.
Overland Park, Kansas is
the Green Door Bookstore
and gift store.
Yeah.
And everybody will love celebrating the Lion Club. And we here online can celebrate as well, because the fabulous Annie has generously offered to give away not one, but 2 copies of this fantastic book. And you all know how to enter. put put a question or a comment, like Julie's asking, what are you working on right now? And we'll talk about that in a while. I promise, Julie.
There's a lot of good questions.
Put in a comment or a question or just general adulation and applause for the fabulous Annie Ward, and you will be entered to win one of 2 copies of the Lion Club. And Margaret Pennard, our producer behind the scenes, has come up with this marvelous wheel of fun. You know Margaret. Hi, Margaret. And she will do the wheel of fun to draw the winner of the Lion Club. So that's congratulations, Annie.
The questions are so good. I'm like, I want to like tell people what's going on.
They're pouring in. Janine is saying Annie rocks. And that is fantastic. Let me quickly tell you if you have just joined us, we are talking about the Lion Club. I'll show it one more time, or maybe more than that, by Annie Ward. I think your dog just got up behind you. Show us Izzy, who's behind you.
Oh, no, she's asleep.
Okay, she's asleep. All right.
She's fast asleep. This is the dog sleeping. She's a 15-year-old beagle mix, and she just decided that there she is. She wants to say hello.
About
she wanted to be in here with me while I do this, so I hope it's okay.
And her name is Izzy, right?
Yes.
Okay. I still haven't gotten used to that. I always think that if I get closer to the camera, I can see more closely, but that's wrong. That's really, really wrong. Anyway, Sherry's saying cute. Yeah, absolutely. So let me tell you quickly, if you are new to A Mighty Blaze, if you have picked today to come to A Mighty Blaze for the first time, we are so thrilled to have you. A Mighty Blaze was started 2 years ago by the fabulous powerhouse team of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt, and has now grown to several dozen volunteers who bring you essentially a book network of programming every day of the week. More books and novels and poetry and even cooking and baking and recipes and cookbooks and all kinds of. The Thoughtful Bro is here. Lit Chick is here. All kinds of programs about books. And we are here throughout to bring you new books and new authors and keep you up to date on what's going on in book world and keep us going as a community. And we are all so pleased that you are here. And these days, being part of a community is even more special. Our international community is full of such strife and such terror and such fear, and our hearts go out to the people of Ukraine at every moment. It makes us terrified, and it makes us count our blessings, really, that we are here and safe, that we can reach out and read any book that we want, and that when helicopters fly over, we are not afraid. So again, our hearts go out to people of Ukraine, and it makes us understand that stories bring us together. And that is why we are here on Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. And we are so pleased that you are here today as well. Annie, you've lived in Eastern Europe. This must be particularly distressing to you.
It is. I lived in Bulgaria, which is just on the other side of the Black Sea from Ukraine. And, I learned Bulgarian when I was there, and it's a similar language to Ukrainian. And sometimes when Zelensky is talking, I can understand some of the words he's saying, like svobodna, it's freedom. It is very difficult, especially just because I absolutely loved my time in Bulgaria. And I do think that it probably is I've never been to Ukraine, but I think it's probably very, very similar. I mean, when I look at the newscasts, the architecture and the people, and it's horrifying.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It is horrifying, and it is difficult. So, what do you think about the people that you love in Bulgaria and your time in Bulgaria? And just sort of give us a little insight about that. I know we're talking about the Lion Club.
No, I love talking about it.
To talk to Annie about Bulgaria and her experiences there.
It's so absolutely fun. My favorite thing to talk about, quite honestly. Those are some of the best years of my life. Well, I can say one thing that I thought was very touching very recently, right when this whole thing was kicking off, one of my former students, her boss, offered up a very big, nice country villa for Ukrainians fleeing. And this was before they were even having trouble getting out. So I mean, I know that a lot of people were opening daycares for Ukrainian children, offering up their houses, just welcoming them at the border. They have to go through Romania, like you go from Ukraine and then Poland and Romania, and then you get to Bulgaria. So when they're doing the newscast, you don't always see Bulgaria, but it's right there. And they've just, all of my former students and friends friends and coworkers have stepped up, and everybody is doing raising money and starting charities, and very concerned, obviously, about what's happening.
And I know NPR.com has a list of all the charities that you can
Yes.
donate to if you are so inclined. But let's take a little moment now and switch gears and talk to Annie about the Lion Club. Let me read you her bio, since we've been already talking about some of the things that she lived in Bulgaria for a while. But Annie Ward is the author of Beautiful Bad, which is such a good book, which was optioned for film by Warner Brothers and nominated for Best Debut Novel by the National Critics Awards. She has an MFA in screenwriting from the American Film Institute, and her first screenplay, Strange Habit, was an official selection of the Sundance Film Festival. So that is pretty cool. She has received a Fulbright scholarship and has also lived in Eastern Europe, as we said, to work for photo or travel guides, and then wrote a novel with the Bulgarian Revolution and the Balkan Crisis as its backdrop. And she now lives in Kansas with her family and Izzy, the senior.
Yes. We moved back to my hometown when my parents are getting on in years. So we came back here to start our family.
Oh, that's lovely. And Kansas is terrific. I'm from Indiana, so
Okay.
Midwest girls. I want to talk to you today about ambition and love and privilege and loyalty and jealousy and envy and competition. And
just a few things.
I sort of ripped from the headline story, but I'm also, Mighty Blaze is saying, Izzy the senior dog, the hero of the show. And Gail says, Annie has had such an amazing career so far. That is so, so true. Janine is asking, are your books standalone? So The Lion Club is a standalone.
Yes.
Right? And Beautiful Bad is a standalone.
Yes. And yes.
Tell us a little bit about this book. I'm always afraid to venture too far into a thriller. So I'll let you take the reins and tell us about this book.
Okay. So is it okay if I just tell a little bit about my past, rather just to preface why I wrote this book? So when I was little, my parents were really into sports. And so I had to do like all the sports. And I was a gymnast until I was about 13 years old. And I also played soccer from the time I was 5. And I did quit gymnastics when I was 13, but I did it for personal reasons. I was working on a beam mount that another girl from a rival club was working on, and she broke her neck. And I had just decided that I was too scared to continue on at the level of gymnastics that I was doing. But I continued to follow gymnastics all my life. And so when I heard about what happened to those 256 gymnasts and that Dr. Nasser, I felt that, the journalists were doing a good job of covering the story. But I wanted, as a fiction writer, I thought that I would like to maybe tell a sort of cautionary tale about that kind of insidious evil that sometimes pops its head up in kids' sports, because it's incredibly disturbing.
It is incredibly disturbing, and it's interesting that you've taken this really chilling, riveting, suspenseful page turner of a thriller and wrapped it around this really timely and important and chilling topic. And it's not just what happened in that situation with Dr. Nasser, but all the things that happen with that high level of competition and ambition and parental pushing and setting up students to vie against each other, to be in competition with each other, the sort of the harshness of that and the ugliness of that. How did you decide to set it in this beautiful, privileged school and place? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so all right, that's a great question. I like answering that because after I quit gymnastics and I ended up doing soccer for many more years, and I played 2 years for the UCLA women's team, I ended up coaching soccer and gymnastics in New York City on the Upper East Side.
Wait. Let's go back a little bit. You played for the UCLA women's team?
Yes, I was a walk-on. I did not get a scholarship. They didn't recruit me, but I spent my freshman year there, and I thought, I'm going to try out for the team my sophomore year, and I made it. I didn't play much, but I got to go to the practices and travel with the team, and every once in a while the coach would get me on for a couple of minutes. So it was really fun. But it gave me the credentials to coach at a private school in New York. So I loved my time working at this private school, but it also just has always been nagging at me that there's so many good stories to tell. And it was so interesting, just between the parents and the teachers and the students and I just thought it would be a great setting to move this story into. And I live in Kansas City, so the closest place that I kind of thought maybe that I could set this would probably be like a swanky resort town in Colorado. So I used it as an excuse to drive to Colorado a bunch of times and play at the resorts. So that's how those three things kind of got tied together. It was the sports. It was, I don't want to do any spoilers. I guess I'm a little nervous about saying,
Yeah,
can I do it? Oh, no spoilers. All right. So just basically it was
because
college sports.
college sports,
I
college
coach
sports,
it.
and the sort of hotbed of ambition and competition and preferential treatment that you must have seen in that school in New York. Is that part of what went into this book?
Mm-hmm. It is. And without saying too much, but I mean, the private training sessions and all of that are things that, I tend to write books that are closer to my life. So there's a lot of true elements in this story.
Well,
I based it on fact.
Let's rewind a little bit because I know you want to be careful about what you're saying. But the main
Yeah.
character, one of the main characters, Natalie,
Yes.
Talking about looking for love, talk about being ambitious, talking about yearning to be on another side of the social situation. She really wants her life to be different. Talk a little bit about your main character.
I think that you literally just nailed Natalie. Natalie, in my mind, is a sweet young woman. I mean, she did so many things right. I mean, she went to Colorado to take care of her brother after his bicycle accident. She went and she got herself an apartment. She got herself a job. She's seeing all of these people with all this money, and all she's really trying to do is dream of a better life. And certainly there were times when I was, living in my studio in New York, and I would go to this school and see people getting dropped off from their limos and stuff and think, I'm the office assistant, or in my case, I was a coach and also an administrative assistant in the sports department. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you see stuff and you covet it. And I think that Natalie she just wanted to fall in love, and she just wanted to, I don't know, have a little bit more.
It's very, and I agree with you that Natalie is she's a very poignant character because we can understand what she does and we can understand what she wants. We all know what it feels like to be madly in love with someone, and we all know what it feels like to be jealous. And we all know what it looks like when someone is incredibly privileged and seems to have everything that anybody could possibly want. And you do a great job of digging behind that facade and behind that gloss. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, because I think it is a facade. I don't think that just because someone has, the right accessories and all of that, that they probably are any happier because of that particular thing. So I wanted Brooke to be glamorous, and I wanted her to be kind of evil, and I had some characters that I was thinking about, but I also wanted her to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it when I came up with the idea that she'd been cheating on her husband and he'd left her, and she was so in love with him and she wanted him back, because it was kind of like a twist on that. And I think by the end of the book, I mean, she's pretty heroic and likable, even though she starts off not so much.
Well, but I mean, that's one of the things that's so wonderful. We're talking about The Lying Club by Annie Ward. And remember, if you leave a comment, and I see so many of them are here, comments and questions. If you leave a comment or question, Sharon says, all for the sake of research going to Colorado. Somebody has
Yeah.
We're giving away 2 copies. Annie's giving away 2 copies of The Lying Club. So don't forget to leave a question or a comment. We will spin the wheel of fun at the end of the book. But I was saying that's one of the things you do so gorgeously in this book, is that there are characters who we think we know, and then you peel back the layers to show us what's underneath. The character Asha, is just trying to be a good mom and trying to save her marriage. And so much of it is about perception and fear and the things that we decide are true. Talk a little bit about the psychology in the book.
Well, Asha's pretty scared, I think. I think that she feels her world is kind of like crumbling. She's worried about her husband cheating on her. She's worried that her daughter has gotten mixed up with some bad kids.
Mhm.
She's worried, that she's not doing the greatest job at her career. She's also got a little bit of brain fog because she just found out that she's pregnant. So I think Asha's psychology is that she's trying to hold it together. I think she's really she's kind of walking the precipice, right? And she's got all these different things that she's able to pull herself back because she is strong. And I think she does most of what she does for her daughter and her son, obviously. But I think she's just a tiger mom, and she's trying her best. And I don't know, she's a strong character, even though I started off trying to show her again being more vulnerable. I like to do backward character arcs where I introduce someone as one way and then change your opinion completely by the end of the book. And a lot of writers do that with their protagonist or their antagonist, but I like to try to do it with a lot of characters because I think that keeps people guessing.
Oh,
When you
completely.
have a mystery.
And you do it so perfectly. You do it so perfectly in the Lion Club. And I think that's one of the other things that's so brilliant about it is that when we first meet someone in real life, we decide who they are and what they are based on very shallow ideas. And then as we get to know them more deeply, if we do, then we get to understand who they really are and why they're really doing what they're doing, which is what you do. I love the idea of backward character arcs. That's a great idea. You mentioned you said bad kids, and I think that's so interesting
Well,
too, because one of the cultures in this book is bad kids. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, the one thing that I'd like to mention is like I did say bad kids, but in that whole thing about like trying to work against stereotype and backward character arcs, let me just say that they didn't turn out to be such bad kids, right? Especially one of them. Like one of the people is someone that we really think we know what's going on with that bad kid. And by the end, you're like, oh my God, like he was a victim too. So
Well, isn't that the essence of suspense? Isn't that the essence
yes.
of good writing? Is that the reader, and let me ask you about this because you as the author understand perfectly what the reader will think, and then you get to tell us what the reader should learn in the end. Is that fun for you? Is that process?
That's the best part. That is the best part.
Well,
Truly.
talk a little. Do you know from the beginning what will happen with them, or do you put these people together and then see what comes out?
One of the things that I really like to do is to start off, like knowing where I'm headed and try to use the tools that I have as a writer to manipulate what the reader is going to think.
Ah.
So, for example, in The Lion Club, it opens with a person who seems to be not trustworthy whatsoever. I mean, the circumstances of the opening is that somebody's sitting in a car. They've either crashed it. The car is on. You definitely get the impression that there's been drinking or drugs involved. And so immediately you're like, okay, this is not somebody that I'm going to get behind. And then as I go through the book, I try to pull back the layers of the onion and be like, okay, so maybe you didn't like this character then, but now this person who you thought was perfect is the one who's really bad. And I love that. That's one of my favorite things. And I like to finish a book and then to go back to the beginning and plant clues. So I don't
Ah.
just do it, I don't just start and write from A to Z. I write the story and then I go back and I'm like, what'd be really interesting is if she does something completely indefensible here. And then, little by little reveal the true character.
I mean, it's so much fun when that happens, isn't it? You sort of sit at your computer and go, "Oh, you imagine, don't you, the readers reading that and turning the page and thinking, "Oh, she got me again."
Well, that's what I'm hoping to do. I think I got a few people with this one because there's some people that told me that they were quite surprised by the ending. So
Some
hopefully
people,
we're
I'm sure everybody is quite surprised by the ending and don't even try to figure it out. We've talked about this. My husband and I will watch television and I'll say, it's, she's pregnant. It's the sister. It's this. And my husband will say, can't you just watch it? And I'm like,
oh no, you have to guess.
do you have to guess too?
Oh, you have to. And that's the thing that's fun about thrillers. And I actually read a lot of thrillers. And the most fun thing is being fooled. But thriller readers these days are super savvy, and it's hard to fool them. I mean, you look at the reviews and people are like, well, I saw this coming and I knew this. I mean, all we can do is try, but so many stories have already been, rehashed over and over again. I mean, how many times has Romeo and Juliet been done? There's not that many truly unique stories. So as a writer, you're just trying your hardest to fool somebody. And that's why I think that's also why it's good to have a cast of characters that also are dynamic and change over the course of the book.
And that's gorgeous. You do have this wonderful ensemble cast in the Lion Club, and who's good and who's bad shifts and changes. So, it's fun to guess it along the way. And I talked to some other writers about this at some point, and Catherine is saying, I love the puzzle aspect of crime fiction. And the fabulous Mindy is saying, I like surprises. Shannon says, I love surprise endings. But there are all kinds of different ways to surprise someone. And the surprises in the Lion Club aren't just in the ending. It's not just a surprise ending. There are surprises after surprise after surprise along the way. One of the things you do, I was saying, and I interrupted myself, is sometimes it's fun as a reader to figure it out. Sometimes it's fun to say, "Ooh, I
It
knew
definitely makes you feel smart when you figure it out ahead of time. Yeah, I had that experience a couple of days ago. I was reading this book and I was like, I read so many books, I can't even remember which one it was, but I guessed it. I did. I guessed it like probably a third of the way in, and I was proud.
Yes, and it's still fun to read, right? It's still fun
Yeah.
to read because then you can see how the author got there. Another of the wonderful things about the Lion Club is the structure you've used of interspersing police interviews with the story. How did you come up with that brilliant idea, and when?
Well, I knew that I wanted. I'm so worried I'm going to do a spoiler. I'll just kind of
No,
say
no,
it.
just
Okay. So, I knew that I wanted Natalie to be the suspect for the murder that took place, which I won't mention who was murdered.
right.
I knew that I wanted to make her seem like an untrustworthy, shady character from the beginning. And I also knew how I wanted that story to pan out. But I thought that it was necessary to have the investigation where they're like coming down hard on her. I mean, even right now, I think about that scene where she's in the little teeny tiny closet and the police guy is like grilling her and telling her, is that you? You're walking into the school in that coat. And she's like sweating and trying to back out of the way. I just wanted to create a sense of empathy for her because I know that, I probably made her seem so dishonest in the beginning that some people were not able to turn around and embrace her the way that I hoped. But ultimately, I wanted to show her struggling in that environment and being scared because I think she actually does have quite a lot of courage. She stands up for herself, and obviously, she doesn't always make all bad decisions. There were a few good decisions there. Finally.
Well, we were talking about this, that the book is so much of the book is about bad choices, and certainly Natalie has her good side completely, and as you'll learn when you read the book. But sometimes people make a bad choice for a reason that they think is a good reason, or because they want something, or because they love something. Talk a little bit about your theme of bad choices.
I think particularly in this case, I would have to say that I haven't always made the best romantic choices. I mean, and I'm sure that happens to lots of people when they're young. We were talking about how I lived in Bulgaria for a while. I mean, I moved to Bulgaria because of a romantic situation, which, looking back on it, I think it was a good choice. But, you make choices for all kinds of reasons. Natalie certainly makes the choice that she makes because she feels that she's in love. It's just a love story gone wrong.
And we know how passion feels, and we know how longing feels, and we know how when you really think you're in love with someone and someone seems to get in the way of that, how you'll move heaven and earth to get that out of the way. Let's look at our questions. We're talking about the Lion Club with Annie Ward, and we just have so many questions that I'm going to come to them a little bit earlier than I might, because I want to get to all of your questions, or as many of them as we can. So let's see a question for Annie Ward, and don't forget, Annie's giving away generously 2 copies of the Lion Club to 2 lucky listeners on Crime Time today.
Oh my gosh.
Misha is asking, do your book characters talk to you? And if they do, have you had to change something in a story because of it? Great question.
Okay, yeah, the answer is yes. The weirdest thing that happens, and I don't know if it happens to all writers, but there comes a time when, yes, you will hear dialogue in your head. And sometimes it's not when you want it. Like for me, sometimes I'm like trying to go to sleep. And I'm like, Natalie, stop talking to Nick. Or Brooke, stop yelling at Linda. Or Linda, stop, being mean to Sloan. And yes, every once in a while, I do have to change the story, because if all of a sudden they're fighting and then one of them backs off and says something kind, then you realize you just revealed a whole nother side to their character. And there came a time in the writing of this where I was like, you know what? I've been looking at Linda the wrong way, and I can change her a little bit because of what she just said to Brooke.
Oh.
And it was fun because Linda even though she's kind of a minor character, I felt like she had a lot of really, really good one-liners.
She does, and when you read the book, The Lion Club, you'll meet Linda, who is a complex and complicated person. And
She even says that herself. She says, I'm a complex person, right?
oh, she does.
She does.
I think that must have gone into my brain.
Yes.
She's fascinating. Again, don't judge a book by its cover. Although The Lion Club, you can judge by the cover, because look
I
at
like
that.
the cover.
3 women, 2 bodies, 1 big lie. And Shannon is asking, did you have a say in the beautiful cover?
I didn't have a say other than to look at it and tell them that I loved it, and I was really, really pleased. And sometimes they do send you, the artwork for a cover, and you don't absolutely love it. I'm not going to. That has happened to me a couple of times, but I felt like I got really lucky with this one. I think I love the colors. It kind of pops. I think that it is a pretty decent representation of what you're going to get inside, which is a fun, glamorous read. I like.
Hold it up one more time
purple
so we can see.
Oh yeah,
because you have the hardcover.
Oh yeah, I have the hardcover. Yes.
So let's see.
Yeah.
So we have the stiletto, and what else?
The stiletto and the broken glass that people could think that was a window. They could think it was a car windscreen. We could think it was a phone
or a mirror.
They will find out eventually what the broken glass is.
Yes, exactly. And what about the title? I think someone was asking earlier about the title. Leisha is saying, did you have the book title before you start writing, during, or after? And another person wanted to know.
No, that's okay. I'm happy to answer that. I did not have any say in the title. It also, but going back to Beautiful Bad, my agent actually kind of came up with the title for Beautiful Bad, and I was like, okay. And then in this case, it was kind of like the UK, Canadian, US editors kind of got together and had some fun ideas. They definitely let me weigh in, and I probably sent them a list with like 30 different titles. Oh. But they decided to go with this, and I think it works really great because, at the end, everyone will understand what the title means, even if they don't get it going in. So I'm pleased. I think I hope people will pick it up because of the title and the cover.
Oh, definitely so. I mean, it is intriguing, and it's multi-layered, the title. More I will not say. And I saw that we just had a question from Gail. Do you have a particular writing process? I have to read you something. Talk about process. I found this clipping from where Francine Prose was asked this question.
Okay.
I just happen to have this, you all. It's so funny that Gail asked this question. I'll read it to you. She says, people say, what's your process? My process is allowing my soul to leave my body and enter into the body of another human being. So try that. I thought that was a great answer.
That's not going to work for me. Oh my gosh, that's a great quote. But my writing process is actually super simple. There's 2 main things that go into it. One is that I am one of those writers who writes what I know. And I know that that's kind of a controversial subject. A lot of people are like, oh, that you can do whatever you want. Like, let your imagination go free, write whatever you want. I would love to do that. Like, my kids and my husband would think it was awesome if I wrote like the next Game of Thrones kind of thing. That would be cool. But the only thing that I really am good at is writing stories that are based on some chapter of my life. I even struggle sometimes to describe a house or a room that I haven't actually been in. I like to, that's why I went to Colorado so many times when I was writing this book, because I wanted to know what the trees looked like and where did the bicyclists put their bikes when they come home, and where the shuttle buses go for. I have to write stuff that I know. So my very first book, which I wrote 20 years ago, was based on getting divorced when I was in my early 20s. My second book, Beautiful Bad, was based on the experience of being head over heels in love with an ex-soldier who had PTSD. And then this book is based on basically three things, which is my experience as an athlete in high school and college, my experience as a coach in a private school. And also, I've got two kids who play sports now, so I'm also the soccer mom. So I kind of had all three of those. And so my process is to write what I know. So like I'm getting ready to start a new book, and I'm scared. Every new book is scary and an adventure, but I'm telling another story that I know. So I'm kind of comfortable going into it because I'm just gonna, once I get the whole story out, then I'll go back and kill some people. But at the beginning, I'm just telling a story that I've lived myself.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, the write what you know thing. Sometimes I think Stephen King or someone said, write what you fear. And it's all, when other people say, write what you care about or write what you're interested in. When you talk about going to Colorado as sort of an excuse, I think that's research. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how this is done. So I love that everybody has a different way of doing it, a different way of putting the puzzle pieces in our experience together and coming up with a new story every time. So it's kind of, do you have fun when you're writing? Do you sit at your computer and faint and be weary, or are you like, yeah, I got this? How do you feel writing?
What happens is that there are times when I have a lot of anxiety and I'm worried about like what I've chosen as my topic, or there's always that inner critic that's telling you like, is this as good as you can do? You need to do better. It's not fun when you are feeling down on yourself. But what is fun is when you say, okay, you know what? I can do this. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write a few chapters, and then I'm going to go walk the dog, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to read them. And the fun part is when you're like, oh God, I actually am onto something. Like this is kind of entertaining or interesting or suspenseful or frightening. And then it just starts rolling along, and maybe it is a little bit like that quote that you said about like somebody inhabiting somebody else's body. I mean, there is a kind of a weird supernatural element to it that it's just the words are coming. That part is fun, but is it all fun? No,
of course, it's not all fun. But you have put your finger on the very thing that I've heard so many other wonderful authors say, that there is some moment in the zone, when you're just channeling a story that you don't even realize. Janine is saying, I'm heading to the bookstore right after Crime Time. Good for you. Good for you. When you're just channeling, we love you, Janine. When you're just channeling a story that you don't even know that your brain is thinking. Do you have that? I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Yes. I mean, most of those moments, those like magical moments happen when I'm struggling with a plot point or a character. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. I'll go walk the dog, and all of a sudden I'll be like, bing, the light bulb just went on over my head. And you go home and you're like, okay, I'm not making dinner tonight. You guys got to fend for yourselves. And I'm closing the door to the office.
Yeah.
And then, maybe 4 or 5 hours. I mean, who knows how long, but later that night, you just think, man, I figured out a really good twist.
And it's cool because at one point you don't know, and then something magical happens in your brain, or mysterious or physiological or whatever it is, and some synapse gets jumped, and then suddenly you do know. And where did that answer come from?
In my previous book, Beautiful Bad, I can tell you what the moment was. I was walking. At that time, I had 2 dogs because Izzy's best friend passed away. But I was walking my dogs, and all of a sudden I thought, you know what? I just need to kill one more person. And I went home, and my husband was like, how are you? How was the walk? And I said, I'm going to go into my office, and I'm going to like rewrite the last chapter, and I'm going to show you what I've done. And he was like, when he read it, he was like, oh my God, no, you didn't. But it was just something that came to me, and I had to do it. And the book was done.
Wow.
So I totally changed it.
I love that story because the muse is speaking to you, which is your writer brain saying, hello, I have an idea for you. You know what? I just need to kill one more person. Yes, that will live in Crime Time, in Crime Time infamy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my golly, Annie, we're running out of time. Do we have time for one more question? Is there one more question? I see several of them over here. Okay, Sylvia's saying, what kind of response? Oh, toughie. Do you anticipate from your fellow soccer moms?
Most of my local fellow soccer moms are girls who played soccer with me my entire life. And they're all coming to buy the book and see me tonight. I think that they're going to think that it's a crazy story and that it doesn't bear very much similarity to what we are like as soccer moms. But I think everybody knows a few Brooks and Ashas, and I think that they will probably enjoy, like somebody said that there's a lot of characters here that you love to hate.
Yes, exactly. So, and I think your soccer mom pals will embrace this book
They will. They will.
as we all have. It is irresistible. It is chilling. It is twisty. There is a surprise on every page, and I'm not talking about the ending. I'm talking about throughout. You will not be able to put it down. Annie Ward, congratulations on
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're almost out of time. We have like no seconds. So let's just do the fabulous spin the wheel of fun. Shall we do it? And see who has won a copy of this fantastic book, The Lion Club. And here
this
goes
is so
the
fun.
wheel. That's hilarious. Margaret Pinard, the producer, came up with this, and
It's
I
great.
absolutely love it.
Mindy.
Mindy Ehrlich wins copy number 1. All right, Margaret, can we do it again? Can we spin it again? Will it work if we do it again? Oh, look at that. She's so brilliant. All right, and the second winner is Leisha Haney. Oh my goodness, Leisha Haney, who both of you are wonderful Crime Time stalwarts, and we are thrilled, thrilled, thrilled. Both of you, Mindy and Leisha, email me or contact me, or I will find you, and we will get you a copy of this book. Annie, congratulations. I hope you had fun today.
I did. I love talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
We had so much fun finding out all about the manipulative, creepy, and sometimes wonderful characters in the Lion Club. Loved meeting them all. Let me quickly, before I say our final goodbye to the darling Annie, let me say that come next week at this time, Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET, right here, to meet the fabulous, brilliant Jess Montgomery with her newest book, The Echoes. It couldn't be more different from the Lion Club, but it is equally brilliant, so evocative, so beautifully written, about a female sheriff in Ohio in the 1920s. And you will love Sheriff Lily Ross as I do. This book, The Echoes, is part of a series, but you can read them absolutely as standalones. And I highly, highly recommend this. So join us next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET to meet the fabulous Jess Montgomery and hear about Sheriff Lily Ross and The Echoes, a wonderful historical mystery. And today we have talked to Annie Ward. Congratulations on the launch of the Lion Club. Thank you all for being here today. And until next time, remember this, it is always safe inside a book. And we will see you next time.